During the war of Mahabharata, when Duryodhana came and asked him for the services of Krishna, he offered services of himself or his army to Duryodhana. Why he has done that?
The one thing that happened with the Kurukshetra war is everybody got involved in the battle. So it was made up in such a way that nobody could be neutral. You are either on this side or that side. So Krishna, being the chief of Yadavas, he also really has no choice. He has to put his lot either with Pandavas or with Kauravas. He cannot remain neutral. But he himself personally wishes to be neutral because he never wanted to fight this war. And he has no hatred against Hastinapur or against… See, he's not just choosing Duryodhana. There is Bhishma, there is Dronacharya, there is Kripacharya. There are so many venerable leaders on the other side. He is not against them at any point. They have huge respect for him. So, Duryodhana also is in a certain way related to him. There's a blood relationship. With Pandavas also there's a blood relationship. In some far-off way they are brothers. So when your brother comes and asks your help because he is in distress or he is into a battle, and no is difficult. According to the Kshatriya dharma, it is difficult. When he says dharma, there are two dharmas that he's talking about. One is Kshatratej, another is Brahmatej. Kshatratej is about the dharma for warrior class. Brahmatej is for the spiritual class. He is trying to bring some kind of alliance between these two classes of people. Because slowly it had become like this, the spiritual aspect is for the Brahmins. We can do what we want. That is a kind of understanding the Kshatriyas have come to slowly. We have our own dharma. See, these guidelines and these rules were created for convenience, to make the social function smoother. Now for a Brahmin, they said you must sit and study Vedas this many hours a day. So if the same dharma was enforced on a Kshatriya, one thing he is not competent to do it, another thing if he does this, he will not be a good administrator or definitely not a good warrior. The same goes for all the other classes. So they established different types of dharmas for different category of people who had different obligations to fulfill for the society, different duties to perform in the society. But he was trying to bring a kind of merger of Brahmatej and Kshatratej because in the name of this separateness, things were going bad. It's like, our government departments are functioning. Now, the PW department comes and lays the road. The waterworks people come and dig it up to put a new line. The waterworks people put the pipeline and go, the telephone people come and rip off the pipeline because they are doing their duty. You go and ask that guy, he is just doing his duty. So this is the dharma. The PWD dharma is one thing, the water department dharma is another thing, the sewage department has their own dharma, telephone department has their own dharma. If you don't bring them together in some way, it becomes senseless situation. So something like this has occurred in that society. Kshatriyas are going their own way, Brahmanas are going their own way. So once Kshatriyas go their own way because they are armed, Brahmanas have no safety. They started burning the ashrams. So Kshatriyas started thinking only in terms of what's good for them, what's not good for them, their dharma. They did not consider about bringing all the dharmas together to make the society into a harmonious process. So Krishna's striving and Krishna Dvaipayana's, Vyasa Muni's striving has just been this, to bring Kshatratej and Brahmatej close together so that they function as a more cohesive force for the benefit of all. So in that context, the Kshatriya Tej is there, in which when your brother comes and asks for something, you cannot say no. So Duryodhana is a brother to him in some way. So he made it like this, me or my army. If anybody knows any military craft, what can one man do in a battle? An army is definitely a better choice. He is giving an illogical choice. Any sensible man would choose the army. So Duryodhana really believed that he is very sensible in taking the army, though he did not get the first choice and he was very perturbed about that. But Pandavas were fine with this, because Pandavas were in a mental state where they said, whether we live or die, if we live, we want to live with you. If we die, we want to die with you. Without you, what will we do? And that's what made the difference for them. So now your question is, if he is standing for dharma, putting his armed might on the side of adharma, is it not incorrect? What you need to understand is, Krishna is not a moralistic person who is judging anybody as total black or total white. He clearly sees every human being has black and white in him. He is just choosing the better of the evils. I think we already went through this yesterday. He's just choosing the better of the evils. He does not believe Pandavas are absolutely pure beings, Kauravas are absolute evil. He does not see life like that. He constantly maintained a good relationship with Kauravas. Duryodhana's wife Bhanumati is a devotee of his. So he has no hatred against them. He doesn't see them as out and out evil. But right now he sees they are causing much evil. He would like to put an end to it, but he doesn't hold any kind of hatred or anger against them, nor does he judge them as evil. He sees human beings are always combination of everything. That is why the striving. You have to strive to establish dharma within yourself. Otherwise, you will also become adharma. Any human being is capable of becoming adharma any moment of his life, isn't it so? Does anybody have an insurance against this? Does anybody have an insurance that you will never fall into adharma? There is no such insurance. You have to strive to be aware, you have to strive to be on the righteous path. Otherwise, you will easily slip off, unless you have attained to such a level of consciousness where you cannot fall. But for otherwise, every human being has this. So, in many ways he tried to encourage Duryodhana to strive for dharma. Even at that point, when this choice came between him and his army, even then he still strived to create peace. Last moment, he did many things to avoid the war. He still negotiated, but they wouldn't come for anything. So even when he gave this choice, he still had a hope that it will not go for the war. So in a way, it was a very intelligent thing that he gave the army to Duryodhana. Duryodhana definitely felt that Krishna is on my side. The fools have taken one person against 100,000 army. So Duryodhana did not carry that much rancor against him at that point, and that could have been one thing that he could have latched onto and brought peace. But it failed. Even at that moment he tried.
Sadhguru, it is said that sage Vyasa wrote Mahabharata even before it happened. And then there are all these occurring…
Who said such a thing? That was said only about Ramayana, not about Mahabharata.
And then there are all these sayings that which Kansa got, the warning from somebody saying, Krishna will come and kill you. So what is this?
Prophecy.
What is this
It's
whole
called a
business
prophecy.
of knowing beforehand? I mean, it's when you're saying that even Krishna does not have control over things which are happening and he's doing things as they are happening.
If somebody had asked me before Leela, will Amrish come for the program? I would say definitely he will come. No, he is not registered, but I would say definitely he will come. So is this a prophecy? It is, isn't it? We'll look at this later. Right now, today we have Daksha Seth with us, and I don't know what exactly they will do today. Let's see.
If I were a house shored up like this, with ancient scaffolding, bars for windows, damp roof and door of tin, would you take the time to walk into my face, to move from room to room, and find a quiet space where I begin? Would you be tempted to come in? Would you be tempted to come in? To find a quiet space where I would you be tempted to come If I were a house shored up like this, with ancient scaffolding, bars for windows, damp roof and door of tin, would you take the time to walk into my face, to move from room to room, and find a quiet space where I begin? Would you be tempted to come
That was brilliant, isn't it? About prophecies. What's the most famous prophecy? Nostradamus. So, is this also so? Are there things which are predetermined? That's a question. Yes? Are there some parts of our life predetermined? If it is so, what's the point of all this striving? That's a question, isn't it? I have to tell you a story. During the Kurukshetra war, as it was described as the Dharma Yuddha, the mother of all battles, nobody could remain neutral. You have to be either on the Kaurava side or the Pandava side. So all the kings, there were hundreds of them, they started aligning themselves, either this way or that way. Jarasandha, a major force, being dead, his grandsons had split up, so he was not a major force, so they joined. Most of the Magadha joined on the Kaurava side, a little bit joined on the Pandava side. Otherwise, almost the whole of Aryavarta, whether it's on this side or that side. Even the Dhanavas and Yanavas took sides. Though this dharma did not belong to them, they also invariably took sides. Only one king chose to remain neutral. He was the Udupi king. Anybody from Udupi? No? You're from Udupi? Oh. Huh? You from Udupi? You're from Hyderabad, huh? Okay, that's close enough. So even if you did not go to Udupi, I'm sure most of you must have eaten in some Udupi hotel. So this Udupi king chose to remain neutral and he said to Krishna, anyway, everybody is fighting a battle. Those who fight battles have to eat. And I will be the caterer for Kurukshetra battle. So even then, 3,500 years ago, today most of the Udupi people are caterers, even today. So even then, he chose to be a caterer for the Kurukshetra war. Krishna said, fine, somebody has to cook and serve, so you do it. So every day the battle lasted for 18 days. Battle lasted for 18 days. Every day thousands of people were dying. So you have to cook that much less food, otherwise it'll all go waste. So they say over 500,000 soldiers had gathered for the battle. So every day a few thousands will die, especially I think the third and fourth day, a major part of them died, and again, I think 12th, 13th, 14th days, a very major killing happened. So as every day they were dying, how to manage the catering? If you keep on cooking for 500,000 people, it won't work. Or if you cook less, if the soldiers don't have enough food, that won't be good. He's serving for both the armies. And every day when he cooked, the amazing thing was, the food was enough for all the soldiers and no food was wasted. So after a few days, people were amazed, how is he managing to cook the exact amount of food? Because people are dying. Nobody knows how many people have died today. By the time they take accounts of these things, it is, the next day morning again to fight. Definitely the caterer does not know how many thousands of people have died today. but every day he cooked exactly the kind of volume of food that was necessary for the remaining part of the army which did not get killed. So then somebody asked him, this is going to blow you away. Somebody asked him, how do you manage this? Every day you're cooking the right amount of food and you seem to know exactly how many people have died in the battle today. How is this? So the Udupi king said, every day in the night, I go to Krishna's tent and in the night, Krishna likes to eat boiled peanuts. Like all of you ate today? Did you eat, all of you, boiled peanuts? Krishna likes to eat boiled peanuts. People around me know, I like it too much to eat. Many times, many days, my dinner is just boiled peanuts. So every day in the night, Krishna likes to eat boiled peanuts and I peel them and keep it in a bowl. He takes and eats just a few peanuts and after he is done, I count. When I count, I know how many he has eaten. If he has eaten 10 peanuts, I know tomorrow 10,000 will be dead. So tomorrow when I cook lunch, I cook for 10,000 people less. Because Krishna has eaten 10 peanuts, that means 10,000 will be gone tomorrow. And every day, I count these peanuts and cook accordingly, and so it turns out right. So the whole Kurukshetra war, you know why the man is so nonchalant? Do you know why the man is so cocky?
Sadhguru, Krishna is all the time talking about dharma and adharma. And even during the Kurukshetra battle, he talks about it in detail. But a lot of times he uses deceit to kill most of the greater of the warriors in the Kuru dynasty. It's Bhishma, Dronacharya. So, is it that what he preaches he doesn't practice, or is he looking at… well, I know you would say he's looking at a higher dharma. Okay. Okay. That's my question.
Krishna's deceit in the battlefield. It's not just deceit, it's absolute treachery. Probably you do not know the level of deceit that was used. One thing is Buriswara. Buriswara is a great warrior. Satyaki is a very close friend of Krishna and of Arjuna too. Arjuna is battling with Jayadratha. Arjuna is battling with Jayadratha, who is a great warrior, and rules of the war is such, if the sun sets, they must stop. The previous day, Jayadratha killed Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, who was only 17 years of age. But a great hero, he fought in the battle with devastating impact. There was a certain arrangement of strategy. They had very intricate arrangements of arranging their forces. This was called as Chakravyuha, which is almost impossible to penetrate unless you know the intricacy of that. Arjuna is the only one who knows. But when Subhadra, Abhimanyu's mother, was pregnant with Abhimanyu, Arjuna spoke about the intricacy of the Chakravyuha arrangement of strategic forces. So from within the womb, Arjuna, Abhimanyu went on saying, He grasped it. He is an unborn warrior. But as the conversation went, Arjuna only spoke about how to penetrate the Chakravyuha. He did not talk about how to come out of it. So when the Kaurava army formed itself into Chakravyuha, one was going about slaughtering the Pandava army altogether, Abhimanyu, because he has this knowledge of penetrating a Chakravyuha, like a furious arrow, he broke through everything and went. Bhima and Yudhishthira tried to follow him to save the boy so that they could also break through and go. But Abhimanyu went in, immediately the Chakravyuha closed itself, others could not enter to support him. He went right to the center. He killed many important people in the Kaurava army. Then his chariot was down, all his arms broken, he was bare, without arms. An unarmed person is not supposed to be killed. But Jayadratha thought, if you let this boy get away now, he is too much. For 17 years, he is too much of a devastation. So he thought he must put an end to him. So he continued to attack him. So Abhimanyu picked up a chariot wheel and he fought with that. He could not kill him, so he called for support. And many of the Kaurava heroes gathered around Abhimanyu, which is totally against all laws of battle. They surrounded him from all sides and they killed the boy. So in the evening, when Arjuna came, when he saw there was mourning in his camp, and he realized Abhimanyu was killed like this, because in straight battle, there are very few men there who can defeat Abhimanyu. So he asked, how did it happen? So somebody described, this is what happened. They surrounded him from all sides and they slew him. So Arjuna took a vow, by tomorrow sundown, I will kill Jayadratha. If I don't, I will kill myself. So immediately, Duryodhana thought, this is a great thing. All we have to do is protect Jayadratha completely, and Arjuna will die by the evening by his own hand because he'll stick to his word. Jayadratha was terrified. He said, he wants to quit the battle and go home. He said, I'll quit the battle and go. Duryodhana said, that won't be right. That will not be right for our reputation. If you leave, Arjuna need not die. If you're in the battle and if he doesn't get to kill you, he will kill himself. We will protect you, you don't worry. We will put all our forces and see that you're protected. If you just stay alive till tomorrow evening, Arjuna will die by his own hand. So Duryodhana was overjoyed. So next day, they created a huge protection for Jayadratha so that he is not killed. But Arjuna went all out from the first moment he just went for Jayadratha. He was still continuing to penetrate through the army and go towards Jayadratha to kill him, because if he doesn't kill him, he will have to die himself. So when this was happening, Satyaki had some old family feud with Buriswara, who was a great warrior, who was over 70 years of age. So Satyaki and Buriswara got into a battle. Satyaki was supposed to take care of Yudhishthira. He has to protect Yudhishthira, the king. But he left Yudhishthira's side and went for Buriswara. The moment Arjuna saw this, he was disturbed that the king is left unprotected and this guy is going after Buriswara because of his personal emotions. He has an old feud to settle. When he saw that there's an opportunity to kill Buriswara, he left his post and went for that man. Arjuna noticed this, but he could not deviate his attention, he just continued to go towards Jayadratha because his own life is at stake. Satyaki attacked Buriswara, but after some time, Buriswara knocked down Satyaki from his chariot. All his arms were out and he fell down, almost, fainted out. So Buriswara walked down from his chariot, put his foot on Satyaki's chest and pulled out his sword and was just about to sever Satyaki's head. At that time, when this was happening, when Krishna saw, he knows Satyaki very well. He is a very staunch and a reliable lieutenant for him for many years. But he knows his abilities and his limitations. He knows he can't fight the old man. So he told Arjuna, he's going for Buriswara, he will be killed. You must do something, you must get Buriswara first. Arjuna said, how can I do that? Buriswara is fighting with Satyaki. Me shooting him now is against all dharma that I know, against all the Kshatriya dharma that I know. I cannot shoot him like that. Krishna went on telling him, do it. Satyaki is your friend. He has come to fight for you. He has nothing at stake. He has come just to fight for you. How can you let your friend be killed? You have to do something. Arjuna said, no, it is against the law. I will not do that. Then when Buriswara was about to decapitate Satyaki, again Krishna said, now your friend will be slaughtered. Will you let your friend die like this? What kind of dharma is this? Somebody who came to give their life for you, when his life is about to go, you won't reach out to him, what kind of dharma is this? So Arjuna just looked at that situation, his arrows were aimed at Jayadratha. When he looked at this, Buriswara was about to decapitate Satyaki. He just turned and shot the arrow towards Buriswara. Buriswara's right hand was severed. His right hand fell down. Then he looked around and he said, "Oh Partha, oh Arjuna, how did you do this? I was fighting with another man and you shot me from behind and severed my hand. How could you do this? Which law taught you this kind of action? Anybody who has Kshatriya blood in him will not do such a dastardly act that you have done. I'm sure the company that you're keeping has influenced you. The cowherd with whom you are, this is why you're doing this. I know your breeding is such, you wouldn't have done this by yourself. It is the cowherd. Without him, you wouldn't have done this." Then Arjuna was inflamed and he said, yesterday when you, a great warrior like you, joined others to surround my son and stab him from behind, where was your dharma? A 17-year-old boy who was fighting valiantly, you surrounded him from all sides and you killed him, more than 10 of you, you killed him. Where was your dharma? What dharma are you talking to me now? Then Buriswara put his head down because he was ashamed of that act that he has committed yesterday. He just went next to his chariot, he sat down in a lotus posture to meditate because he wants to die in a particular way, or he wants to recover from that situation. His right hand is gone. He sat down in yoga position. Then Satyaki came to his consciousness, he recovered, he looked around in a completely bewildered way, he didn't know what has happened. Burisvara was sitting there, his old emotions and rage took over. He picked up Burisvara's own sword, which was attached to his arm still. He threw his arm away, picked up the sword, went to him, and both Krishna and Arjuna were screaming, "Stop, don't do this, Satyaki." But Satyaki just went and lopped off his head when he was sitting with his eyes closed. Krishna put his head down, he didn't want this to happen. Arjuna was totally aghast to what Satyaki did. But Satyaki exulted because his long-standing revenge, he's able to settle at last when the man is sitting with eyes closed. So day by day, as the war went on, all dharma broke out. First day, they fought by the law. Second day, little less law. Third day, little less law. By the time 14th, 15th day came, all law broke down. People started doing what they wanted, killing each other at will. And he continued. Arjuna continued to pursue Jayadratha because his life is at stake. But it looked like Jayadratha was out of reach. The whole Kaurava army had rallied around him to protect him. Because if they just last out that day, Arjuna will die. Then Krishna saw there is no way. So, what Krishna did was, he used his magic and made a huge cloud appear, and it looked like sunset. Jayadratha looked at it, he was absolutely thrilled. He has survived the day, and that means Arjuna will die today. He was absolutely thrilled and he relaxed. He thought it's over, the battle is over for the day. So the whole Kaurava army started exulting and shouting slogans of victory. Everybody put their arms down. But the sun came back. And Arjuna shot an arrow through Jayadratha's heart, which wouldn't miss, and Jayadratha fell. One more deception. As if that was not enough, Karna. When Karna and Arjuna came to fight, Karna and Arjuna were evenly matched in their archery. For everything that Arjuna did, Karna had an answer. So one particular astra or one particular weapon that he had, for which Arjuna had no answer, Karna let it go so that this arrow would enter through his forehead. And it would have gotten Arjuna and killed Arjuna. Now, what Krishna did was, he saw Arjuna had no answer for this and made the chariot drop by a few inches into the earth, once again using his magic. So it knocked off his crown and made him faint for some time, but it did not enter his head as it was intended. So many times he did this, not once. Not deception, much more than that. So what is the justification? Already, as you said, you will say his is higher dharma, somebody else's is lower dharma. It is not a question of higher, lower dharma. See, what they are facing in the war is not simple kind of evil. It's colossal evil. Duryodhana, Shakuni, all these people, Karna, everybody put together, the level of injustice that they created from day one, from the time they tried to murder Bhima by poisoning him and then tying him up and put him in the river. And then they tried to burn them up. Any number of times they tried to assassinate Bhima. And then sent, the dice game which was all total cheating. And that disgrace of trying to disrobe that woman in the public, then trying to burn them in that palace which was built of lac and sulphur, and then again deceiving them of kingdom. The endless number of events which led to this war. Everywhere they used deceit without any qualms. But whenever the other party became very powerful, they talk dharma. When they're at an advantage, no dharma. Whenever they're at disadvantage, they're using dharma as a tool to benefit from that. Again, next moment they're the same. So Krishna said, establishing dharma, to establish dharma, we are fighting. Right now, with these people, there is no dharma. What they are doing is adharma, what we are also doing is adharma. But we are doing it with the intention of establishing dharma. They are doing it with the intention of establishing adharma. That gives us the right to do whatever we have to do because the end is good. We are employing every possible means to get there. They are also employing every possible means and their end is not good. Their very intention is not good. So it is not a question of right and wrong, it is a question of whom you're fighting and for what purpose you're fighting. And if you go by within the limitations of the law, will you be successful? Considering all this, it just went. He is not justifying it at any point. He is not saying, what I'm doing is right. He knows what he is doing is wrong, but what he is trying to achieve is right. For that he is going. This poem is called Pranam. My awareness knows yesterdays and tomorrows. My love's domain is only today. Knowing the beginning and end, still have to play the game in the middle. Knowing the beginning and the end, still have to play the game in the middle. The joy of love was coupled with life-taking venom, the wondrous grace of the Guru with heart-breaking sadhana, the fire of enlightenment with ridicule and failure, the blissfulness of the being, the rapture of fulfillment enjoined with the pain of the body. Is this a joke? Is this Shiva's will? Is this compassion or cruel? O Shambho, let me tell one and all, I do not want it any other way. I do not want it any other way. So, Krishna's predicament also is the same. Knowing the beginning and the end, still have to play the game in the middle. So if anyway you know tomorrow, why should I do today? That's your question. I think I have been saying this in many ways all along, not in the Leela though. The reason why you should not know your future is, people always want to know their future. I always keep reminding them, see, if I tell you what will happen tomorrow, will you still participate in today? You will not. If I tell you, tomorrow you're going to die, the first thing you will say is, anyway if I'm going to die, why should I meditate? Anyway if I'm going to die today, why should I go to work? If I tell you tomorrow, you cannot participate in today, that's your present condition. Krishna is not like that. He knows tomorrow, but still he participates in today to the hilt. It's a completely different state. So knowing the beginning and the end, you still have to play the game in the middle. Otherwise there's no game at all, because the game is only in this moment, isn't it? Just because you know tomorrow, shall we destroy this one? No, we will work this. So is this all some kind of cruel game for you? Do you know what I'm going through? some of you will get very furious, frustrated. I know when I said this to somebody, a few of them, especially I remember one person who just left and never came back again. Because knowing tomorrow, you're still making us play today. You must play today. You must play today, even if you know tomorrow. Or you must withdraw from all play if you are capable of that. You are not capable of that. Anyway you play, you better play well, isn't it? Anyway you play, isn't it? Some action is anyway there, better do it well, all out, by half-hearted action.
Yoga of Devotions. Chapter 12, text 5. Text 5.
However, those who are devoted to the unmanifest, that which is beyond all senses, all-pervading, that also attain me. They also, it must be, it is printed as that. They also attain me, but those who are absorbed in the unmanifest face excessive tribulation. As for embodied beings, the path of the course is difficult to tread. But, O Arjuna, those whose minds are absorbed in me in total faith and who are engaged in devotional service unto me, for them I give deliverance from the cycle of birth and death. This is absolutely fantastic what he's saying. It's good you brought us to this page. Arjuna asked, who are considered more perfect? Those devotees who worship you and are thus always united with you in love, or those who worship the eternal and indestructible, unmanifest? The Lord of Sri said, those who surrender themselves to me and fix their total devotion on me and worship me eternally with their minds absorbed in me, I consider them to be the most devoted to me. However, those who are devoted to the unmanifest, that which is beyond all senses, all-pervading, that they also attain me. But those who are absorbed in the unmanifest face excessive tribulation. As for the embodied beings, the path of that course is difficult to tread. But, O Arjuna, those whose minds are absorbed in me in total faith and who are engaged in devotional service unto me, for them I give deliverance from the cycle of birth and death. You understand the statement? See, the unmanifest, that which is unmanifest is definitely not in your experience. You cannot experience that which is unmanifest, yes? So it is only a belief. Even so, even if you believe and devote yourself to the unmanifest, it is going to be very difficult for you to work up an emotion of love and devotion towards that which is not. You understand what I'm saying? It is going to be very difficult for you to hold an intense emotion of devotion towards that which is not. It is so much easier for you to hold your focus of devotion towards that which is. Is that so? At the same time, he is saying, if somebody can do that, they will also attain to me. You understand? If somebody is capable of holding their devotion to the unmanifest, they will also attain me. So when he says me, he is not talking about an individual. He is talking about that dimension which includes both the manifest and the unmanifest. So if somebody takes that route, they will also come to me, but it involves much tribulation because holding your emotion towards something that is not here is difficult for you. You need a form and a shape and a name and something that you can relate to. It is easier to hold your emotion of devotion in that direction. Otherwise, you will go through much tribulation. You will not be able to hold your devotion steady. And as for embodied beings, the path of that course is difficult to tread. So he is saying people who are living in their bodies, embodied beings, who have the discretion of intellect, it is a difficult path to tread because your intellect, if you dedicate yourself to an unmanifest dimension of existence, every other day your intellect will question whether you're wasting your time or you're really going somewhere. Every day it will happen to you. So he's particularly mentioning, for embodied beings, this path is difficult. For other beings who are not embodied, for them it is more of a possibility because they are just going by their tendencies. They don't have to struggle with their intellect. They will simply proceed in that way. It is not a choice for them. They cannot dedicate themselves to anything. So if they are spiritually oriented, if they're oriented towards their ultimate nature, they generally orient themselves towards the unmanifest because it's not an intellectual choice. It's not a choice that you made. As per your tendency, you're just moving in that direction. So for a disembodied being, a being who is beyond the limitations of the five elements, who is beyond the limitations of the intellect or the discretion of the intellect, such a person, such a being, that is more suitable path for him. But for an embodied being, it is better to emote towards something that which is, something that you can relate to, generally a human form. Or he is saying right now me, because he's a live person there, guiding and handling situations. He's saying, being focused on me, it will be so much easier for them to attain than to look for the unmanifest, which can become all a philosophical drama within yourself, not making an inch of progress. But, O Arjuna, those whose minds are absorbed in me in total faith and who are engaged in devotional service unto me, for them I give deliverance from cycle of birth and death. This, not just Krishna has said, any being who attained to a certain level or any being who is realized, fully realized, always said this in one way or the other. People have been asking all kinds of questions, is this okay, Sadhguru, but will I get mukti in this janma, all this. I keep telling them, you just get onto my bus, you don't have to drive. You just sit in the bus. But your ego is such, you want to do the driving too. So you hold the seat in front of you and just do this. It'll satisfy you. Yes? Because if you are in a certain presence, your attainment at the last moment is not an issue. The issue is how beautifully you're going to live the remaining part of your life. Attainment itself, ultimate release itself is not really an issue unless you know how to really screw it up, unless you're a real expert on that. Otherwise, you can't do that. Unless even in those final moments, you lived a stupid life, still you will be released once you're in a certain presence. But final moments, you get into a huge sense of anger or hatred or desiring process. Even at the last moment you don't have the sense, then life may perpetuate itself. So that's what he's saying. If people See, these translations of the word faith, devotion to me or doing service to me, these are all the English words which don't really say what they have to say. Krishna is talking about, if you're absorbed in me, the highest devotion is at least for one moment you're truly absorbed in me. If you are, you will attain. That's all he's saying. So he's telling Arjuna, don't bother about the war. You're there, you have to fight. Winning, losing depends on our capabilities. Let's just fight. Anyway, your ultimate well-being, I have assured you, winning the war is just a question of ability and doing things. Let's do it well. If you win, enjoy the kingdom. If you die, anyway I have assured you about your ultimate nature. Again, he's making that clear. With the external situation, I cannot assure you everything. With the internal, absolute assurance, I will make sure there is no cycle of birth and death for you. But I cannot make sure whether you will have the next meal or not. This is true with me. I can ensure that you will not have another birth, but I cannot ensure whether you will have tomorrow's breakfast or not. That may look ridiculous to a logical mind. If you can do such a big thing, can't you assure the breakfast? That is the reality of life. I cannot assure tomorrow's breakfast, but I can assure the ultimate well-being. Because when it comes to inner dimension, we can take 100% charge of it. When it comes to outside situation, there is no such thing. Everybody has to strive.